You know that feeling you get watching, say, an Indiana Jones movie, where suddenly there's this hidden world under something famous?
Oh yeah, that sense of mystery, of something huge just waiting to be found.
Exactly. And that's sort of what we're diving into today. We're looking at these pretty fascinating claims.
Claims about huge underground structures supposedly detected with radar right beneath the Giza pyramids. It's well, definitely captured people's attention.
Right. So today we want to unpack all of this. We've looked at reports from the Economic Times, video from First Post's Vantage, NDTV articles, places like that.
And it's important to say up front, isn't it? Some sources are really buzzing about this, but there's also some very strong pushback. Serious doubts being raised.
Definitely. So our goal here isn't to say, yes, it's real or no, it's not. It's more about laying out what's being claimed, what the counter arguments are.
And just trying to understand why this whole thing is sparking such a debate. We want to give you the picture. I hope you get a handle on it.
Okay, let's dig into the actual claims first. Who's making them?
Yeah.
It seems to center on a couple of researchers, right?
Yeah, Corrado Malanga from the University of Pisa and Filippo Biondi, University of Strathclyde. They're working together as the CAFRE project team.
And they're saying they use some kind of advanced radar.
That's the core of it. Synthetic aperture radar, or SAR. It's a technique that uses the radar's own movement to get much higher resolution images than traditional radar.
Okay.
And the claim is they use this SAR to basically see through the ground, get images from potentially thousands of feet down below the Giza Plateau.
Thousands of feet. Wow. And what are they saying they found down there?
Well, this is where it gets really wild.
Hmm.
The Economic Times talks about a vast underground city, like sprawling maybe 2 kilometers under all 3 main pyramids.
All city.
That's the description. Multiple levels, geometric pathways.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds enormous.
Mm. And wasn't there something specific near one of the pyramids? Khafre's pyramid?
Yes, exactly. Both the Economic Times and NDTV mention 5 identical structures found near the base of the Khafre pyramid. What they are? Well, that's part of the mystery.
Okay, keep going. This gets more intricate, doesn't it?
It really does. Then there are these 8 vertical wells, cylindrical wells. The Economic Times report puts them at 648 meters deep.
648 meters.
That's incredibly deep.
Yeah.
First Post video even suggests over 2,100 feet. It's hard to even visualize.
And pathways around these wells.
Yeah, descending spiral pathways. And then, apparently, at the deepest level, 2 massive cube-shaped structures, 80 meters on each side.
80 meters. That's almost a football field. Huge.
Huge. And connected by these pathway systems.
Okay, so we have a potential city, wells, pathways, giant cubes. Anything else?
Well, yeah. Other sources mention things like spiral staircases, maybe channels that look like some kind of water system.
Mm-hmm.
A whole hidden world, basically, over 2,000 feet down.
NDTV even mentioned unidentified structures maybe 4,000 feet deep and something inside one of the pyramids.
Right, 5 small, sort of ream-like structures, and one supposedly had a sarcophagus in it.
You know, this starts to sound like some of the old legends, doesn't it?
It absolutely touches on that. First Post and NDTV bring up the Halls of Amenti, the Hall of Records. These mythical places believed to hold ancient knowledge.
So finding something like this would tie into those ideas, potentially.
For some interpretations, yes.
Yeah.
It adds a whole other layer to why people are so intrigued by these claims. It speaks to those older mysteries.
So if any of this is even close to accurate, I mean, it really shakes up the standard explanation for the pyramids, right? Just tombs.
That's a key point raised in the Economic Times and First Post. If there's this massive complex underneath, it suggests maybe the pyramids themselves were part of something bigger, something more complex than just burial sites.
So what else could they be for? Did the sources speculate?
Well, the scale itself leads to that speculation. The Economic Times mentions ideas about maybe a mechanical function or something related to energy.
Energy? Like how?
It gets pretty speculative here, but the Economic Times actually connects it to theories from people like Nikola Tesla.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, his ideas about Earth potentially having natural energy fields that the pyramids could tap into. And also Christopher Dunn, who wrote the Giza power plant.
Right. His theory that the Great Pyramid was basically a machine converting vibrations into power.
Exactly. So these new underground claims, for some, seem to resonate with those, let's say, less mainstream ideas about advanced ancient technology or knowledge.
It definitely paints a picture of, well, a very different ancient Egypt than the standard view.
It does. It suggests a level of sophistication, perhaps, that goes beyond just incredible construction skills.
Okay. But we said there was pushback. Significant pushback.
Oh, absolutely. This is where the other side of the story comes in very strongly. Mainstream Egyptologists, radar experts, they are, let's say, highly skeptical.
So who's leading that charge?
A really prominent voice is Dr. Zahi Hawass,
Yeah.
Egypt's former Minister of Antiquities, a major figure in Giza research for decades.
And what's his take?
According to NDTV, in that Debate Rages article, he's basically called the claims completely wrong, even fake news. He stresses there's no scientific approval, no validation for any of this.
And his argument is?
His point is, look, we've been studying Giza for ages. We've used lots of other methods, gravimetry, which measures gravity variations, muon tomography, like cosmic ray imaging, even other types of radar. And none of it, absolutely none of it, has shown anything like this enormous underground city.
He also denied radar was used inside the pyramid itself, right?
Yes, NDTV reported he specifically refuted that particular claim.
Okay, so a flat denial based on decades of other research. What about the radar technology itself? Does SAR actually work like they claim?
Well, that's another major point of skepticism. Professor Lawrence Conyers, a radar specialist at the University of Denver, weighed in. He called the claims a huge exaggeration. His point, reported in NDTV and elsewhere, is pretty direct. Radar pulses from a satellite simply can't penetrate thousands of feet of rock and soil to get detailed images like the ones being described. The physics just don't support it, according to him.
So the technology itself might not be capable of what's being claimed.
That's the argument from the radar experts, yes.
But did Conyers dismiss everything, or was there any nuance?
Actually, yes, there was. He did suggest something interesting. He floated the possibility that there could be smaller, older constructions, maybe chambers or something beneath where the pyramids were later built.
Older. Why there?
His idea, mentioned in the articles, is that the Giza Plateau might have been seen as a special or sacred place before the pyramids. He compared it to, say, the Mayans, who often built their pyramids over natural caves that had ceremonial meaning.
I see. So maybe finding something underground wouldn't be impossible, but it would likely be older, smaller, and ceremonial, not a vast technological city built concurrently with the pyramids.
Exactly. It's a much more limited and perhaps more plausible scenario from his perspective, aligning better with known archaeological patterns. It's different evidence than needed for a huge city.
Okay. And there's another pretty big sticking point, isn't there, about the research itself?
Yes, a crucial one. Multiple sources point out that this research, these findings from the Caffrey Project, they haven't actually been published in a peer-reviewed scientific journal.
Which is usually standard practice, right? To have other experts check your work before it's widely accepted.
It's the cornerstone of the scientific process, really. Without that independent scrutiny and validation, the claims remain just that, claims. It makes the scientific community hesitant to accept them. You wonder why they haven't pursued that avenue if the findings are solid.
And the Economic Times mentioned something about restrictions on digs in Egypt.
Yeah, it briefly touched on the history there, suggesting that sometimes archaeological work that might challenge the official story faces hurdles. It adds a layer of, well, political or bureaucratic complexity to the whole situation, potentially.
So, putting it all together, where does this leave us? Where does it leave you listening?
Well, that Debate Rages article title seems pretty accurate. It really is a heated debate. You've got these incredibly dramatic, exciting claims.
A hidden world under Giza.
Right. But then you have very strong science-based skepticism from leading figures in Egyptology and radar science. They're questioning the tech, pointing to the lack of other evidence.
And a lack of peer review.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a clash of narratives right now.
And for you, the listener, this whole thing is fascinating because it highlights just how much mystery still surrounds the pyramids, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Even after all this time, all this study, they keep generating these huge questions, these controversies. And new technology keeps pushing us to reevaluate.
It also makes you think about how we handle scientific claims, especially in archaeology, right? What's the burden of proof?
How do we balance the excitement of a potential discovery against the need for really solid evidence, for rigorous checking? It's a tricky balance sometimes.
So, as you think about all this, maybe just mull over this question. What if? What if something truly vast was confirmed down there?
Yeah.
Right.
How would that change everything we thought we knew about ancient Egypt? Their capabilities, their knowledge, maybe even their technology.
It's a pretty staggering thought to end on, isn't it? It leaves you wondering what might come next in this story.